Hello everyone, my name is Cole Dugan and today I will be speaking to you about the history and creation of one of the most easily recognizable sounds in music over the last 60 years, the electric guitar. I will be covering the full history beginning with the creation of the instrument and following the innovations of the instrument into our current day. Stringed instruments have been a staple of music ever since the very beginning of music creation. But prior to the electric guitar, there was no way to modify the natural sound of the acoustic vibrations throughout the instrument. With the development of the technology capable of translating vibrations into sounds, the guitar can now produce sounds varying from a gentle rhythmic hum present all throughout most pop music all the way up to a screaming distorted signal solo present in most hard rock albums. The creation of the electric guitar begins in around 1890. According to a Reverb article released in 2018, U.S. Navy officer George Breed was granted a patent for an apparatus capable of translating vibrations into sound. That apparatus was eventually transformed into the modern-day pickup, which is what electric guitars use nowadays. In 1923, Gibson employee Lloyd Lohr built a prototype using that previously mentioned technology to create a prototype electric harp. The first electric guitar that was made commercially available was designed by Adolf Rickenbacker and George Beauchamp. It was named the Rickenbacker Electro A22, or also known as the frying pan, due to its large circular size and heavy body style. When these guitars first came out, many people were very against the use of them and did not like their sound. The first genres to actually adopt the electrically styled guitar were jazz, blues, and country musicians. A lot of you may think, what about rock and roll? But rock and roll actually hadn't been invented yet, as it was invented in the late 40s to early 50s. Notable artists to begin first using the electric guitar include Muddy Waters, T-Bone Walker, and Merle Travis. Actually, according to a PBS article written in 2015, during a show at the Newport Folk Festival, legendary folk singer Bob Dylan was actually booed off stage during a performance of his massive hit single, Like a Rolling Stone, for using an electric guitar. Little did all those people know, in a few short years, the electric guitar would become one of the most predominant instruments in music. So now that we've covered the basic history of the electric guitar, let's move on into a little bit more of the two main families of guitar producers, Fender and Gibson. So the Telecaster was the original electric guitar developed by Fender. It was developed in 1950 by Leo Fender himself. It was actually originally named the Esquire, but was then shortly changed to the Broadcaster. Unfortunately, the name Broadcaster was actually the same name as a set of drums produced by Gretsch, and it was once again changed to the Telecaster. The Telecaster is actually one of the most iconic guitars of all time, alongside the Stratocaster and the Les Paul. Famous players who used Telecasters have included Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones, Roy Buchanan, and Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin while playing in studio. Now the Stratocaster, like the one you see here, was developed in 1954. Now, the Telecaster and the Stratocaster differ in very many different ways, besides body shape. The largest of those differences being the Stratocaster having 3 sets of pickups, where the Telecaster only has 2. Another major difference between the type of 2 is the type of pickup. The Telecaster produces a much more twangy, outlaw kind of country sound, whereas the Stratocaster is capable of producing a much janglier tone. Guitarists who famously used Stratocasters include Eric Clapton, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Jimi Hendrix. Now to switch gears a little bit into Gibson guitars, in 1952 the Les Paul is invented. Now besides the body shape, the main difference between the Fenders and Gibsons is the use of Gibson's humbucking pickups, as you can see in this one here. As you see, the thicker pickups are basically 2 single coils inside of that little container, allowing for electrical interference to be reduced. Famous guitarists who used Les Pauls include Slash, Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin while playing live, and Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top. Now in 1958, Gibson releases the ES335. That was actually a model that I just showed you. These differ from the solid body Les Paul and single coil pickups from the Fenders, and they are mainly used by blues players such as B.B. King and Freddie King. Now there are many versions of Gibson guitars that were not initially successful when released, but are now in very, very high demand and are fetching outrageous price tags. Some of these include the Flying V and the Explorer. Now, the electric guitar today, there are hundreds of different guitar manufacturers and countless producers of equipment for these instruments. Some of the additional equipment that is being used today are guitar pedals. The guitar pedal is a small circuit that can be added into the signal chain in between the guitar and the amplifier. These little circuits can generate different effects to the sound, including a kind of tremolo effect where it oscillates back and forth all the way down to creating an almost underwater effect. Another addition to the guitar world is custom guitars. In recent years, custom guitars have become much more affordable and available to the everyday player, whereas before they were reserved for the incredibly wealthy and sponsored professional players. In conclusion, the electric guitar has come an incredibly long way since its creation back in 1890. From its humble beginnings as a side project by a production line worker at Gibson to one of the largest industries in music and most important parts of the musical movement in the 60s and 70s, the electric guitar has truly changed the face of the music industry forever. As someone who has played guitar for a few years, seeing how far this previously laughed at invention has come is truly remarkable, and it really makes you wonder what the next big innovation to change music will be and how we will first perceive it. Thank you for listening.